2, 3, let's switch this up. I've been trying to film this video for the past week since I've quit working at Forever 21. I've been trying to gather my thoughts, and when I was editing the last video, I accidentally deleted the video, so I didn't have that video, so now I'm refilming it. So here we go. This time I wrote some notes, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm trying to remember the important stuff. There's so many things that have happened within the past years of me working at Forever 21, and I'm trying to focus on the things of like why I quit working there. So first of all, before I get into why I quit working at Forever 21, I want to say that this is not intended to slander anyone or anything in that matter. It is me simply giving my experience of working at this company and, you know, just my opinion of what I've been seeing and what I've been through. So let's put that out there. All the names have been changed to protect the privacy of those that I have worked with, and I'm currently working there obviously to protect our identities. I had to think about it for a while of why I'm doing this, why I'm really making this video, and why I'm really talking about it. It is because I feel so passionately about fashion, and the fact that Forever 21 is just exploiting people while trying to promote like fashion, duality through fashion, while they're just like a terrible company, just really irks me. And so I'm just putting that out there. And I feel like in this like time of my life, it's very turbulent. I'm about to graduate. Many things that have happened in my life in the past couple weeks. It's just been a bit overwhelming, and I just want to put it out there for anyone who's been feeling a bit overwhelmed or that's dealing with a similar situation with a really bad job experience, is that knowing your self-worth and knowing where you stand and what you stand for is really important, and that's why I quit basically. Also want to start like having accountability for companies like this, because I'm pretty sure Forever 21 is not the only company who takes advantage of their employees and pretty much exploits them, you know. And I just want to feel like I have done something, because I know I can do something and use my voice to talk about a company that is not ethical in any way, despite them trying to cover up their tracks and try to come off as this like activist kind of company now that actually cares about the environment and like communities. But I digress. Not everything was bad working there, but the majority of the things were, and the majority of the things had a negative impact on me. But at the same time, I wouldn't be where I am without obviously going through all this time. The most pleasant thing I've experienced, but at the same time it has taught me a lot. Start from the beginning. Here we go. This all started in September of 2019. So, you know, it was my little anniversary, 2-year anniversary, 2 or 3 year anniversary in September. It's October right now. And I got hired right before the seasonal cutoff. So I got really lucky. Forever 21 has been a dream job of mine since I was like 15 when I wanted to like work. I've been working since I was 15 and a half when I could get a worker's permit, and I was so excited because I was the first one out of my friends to actually like work, and then I had like my own money, even though like when I first started minimum wage was like $9 an hour. So it's been a while. So I was hired by, we're gonna call her Mary, and she was very loud, really blunt. She was supposed to be stock manager, but for some reason she was hiring people. If that doesn't tell you about this company already, we'll get into more of it later. And we also had the store manager, we're gonna call her Annie. So I got hired in with 2 other girls, which I still keep in contact with. They're lovely people, and we were the 3 that got hired right before, you know, seasonal cutoff. And so at the time, ASM, we're gonna call her Jenny, and she's gonna leave within like a month. Like, I literally barely know her, and she was one of the other managers that was there. Explain how working there worked and how the store ran basically. So obviously I came in as a sales associate, so those are the people that are obviously on the floor. Do you want a bag? Do you need a size? Things like that. That was the job, you know, pretty simple, cleaning up like the rooms and stuff. So my store was 2 stories, I don't know, okay, 2 stories, and the first story is like in different rooms. So each room is a different girl. I don't remember the names of the girls when I first came in, but I just remember the far back room being called Trail Mix, and basically each of the rooms was a different girl, and like they had like mood boards for it. So if you don't know what a mood board is, it's basically like a collage of what this girl would like have. Each girl is like um you know, different personality type. Like one's like really grungy, one's really girly, one's like sporty, things like that. Okay, okay. And then upstairs was men's, kids, activewear, and sale and plus. So that was upstairs. It's more of like the stuff that was added on later to the store, because originally it used to just be all like women's clothing. I got placed on the bottom floor a lot, despite them telling me that they would start me in upstairs because upstairs is a little bit easier because not a lot of people shop there. But I was still thrown into like the bottom floor. I was literally thrown into the floor. Like they were just like, okay, you're here and here and you're gonna shadow this person or whatever, which they ended up never like talking to me. It was kind of like a mean girl situation, to be honest, but I got used to it. I could like adapt. I'm not gonna complain about it because I was just so like excited to be working at Forever 21. So after that, you have people who are in the fitting room. There's always certain people that would always be in the fitting room. There would be like this one guy that was in the fitting room, and then another girl that was in the fitting room. Like those are the people who were like fitting room. It was kind of like an unspoken thing that these people are always in fitting room and these people are always on the cash register. Now, if you want to look at it as like a hierarchy, you would say that the sales associates are like on the bottom. Then you have fitting room people like barely above the sales associates, and then you have cash wrap people, which are like pretty high up there considering they aren't managers. So that's just how the mentality was there. Be about 2 associates per room, and it was really a lot. It was a lot for me to adapt to because before this job I was working at a boutique and it was literally just me. I was the only sales associate there. I manned like the iPad that had Shopify on it, so being thrown into this big like clothing store, it was really overwhelming, but it was really exciting because I had something to do always. And yeah, there were mean girls for sure, and then people would come in and out, and I try to learn people's names, and of course people always said my name wrong. They'd always say Kira, and I'd be like, it's Kyra. And then there's this like one girl that would like purposely call me wrong name, just like on purpose, which that's off topic. I'm probably working there for a couple months, and then every time before we go on the floor we have like a little meeting, and the lead at the time, which was Mary, who hired us in, I think she was supposed to be like stock manager or stock lead. Anyways, she was never in the stock room, but she was always on the floor, and then she told us like, oh, just so you know, Forever 21 is declaring bankruptcy and that doesn't really affect our job, and we're waiting for like whatever's gonna happen to CEO. So basically the original owners of Forever 21 had sold their company because they were like going bankrupt and they wanted like some sort of money back. And so basically, from my understanding, they got sold to like the mall company, which later the CEO, ex-CEO from H&M, I believe, would eventually be our CEO, but that's later on. We don't know that yet. Back to managers. So Annie is a store manager, and she seems to be like really, I don't want to say moody, but like it's hard to like read her, especially getting mixed reviews from people like who've worked there for a long time. They'll be like, oh, what do you think of Annie? And I'm like, oh, she's nice. She hasn't been like mean to me. But I could see how she came out like very passive aggressive. She'd only be nice to you basically if she like wanted something from you, like if you can come in earlier, or you could like take over someone's shift. And I always did that gladly because I always wanted hours so I could get like the money, obviously. So customers are also a very big factor to my stress levels. it was really difficult dealing with customers. Customers are like rude. But that's just like a retail. It's kind of a given that customers are rude, they're messy, sometimes really mean. One of my coworkers actually got hit with a hanger because like she's picking up something from the floor and then someone just like threw a hanger at her for whatever reason. So it was things like that. I was just like a bit concerning sometimes. I did have issues with one associate that kept calling me like wrong on purpose, and she would make me cry one time, and then I just didn't feel like good working with her, and she tried apologizing. I was just like, no, I don't really care. And then after that, I would tell Annie. I felt like I could tell her at first, like things like that, like, oh, she was doing this, and like, I know I sound like a tattletale, but like, I'm a really sensitive person, and I need to know that I feel safe in a work environment. And I feel like Annie would like listen to me about it, and she would like talk to me about it. I just did more than I was expected to. I always tried my best. There are times, because I'm human, that I just didn't feel like doing anything. I got lazy and I didn't want to do go backs, or like I tried to do go backs. But at this time, Forever 21 didn't really have like a standard the way that they do like now, which is like surprising that they have any standard at all right now. But it is because we weren't a corporate store yet, so basically everything was just a mess. Like everything was literally just a mess, like on the floor. Like sometimes like people would like push a pile of clothes that we didn't want to put back like under like a fixture or something, just because like we couldn't find it. And during this time, I was probably like 19 when I first started, and I also declared it was my minor in fashion merchandising during this time, because I was like, oh, I really like fashion and I want to minor in it, because if I double major in it, it's going to be a bit too overwhelming. So I started my minor in fashion merchandising, and I started noticing that we had a visual merchandising team, which is really exciting because I got to like see them work. But there's only 3 of them, and we're gonna call them Amy, Cassie, and Larry. So that was like the OG team before we become a corporate store. And even with this small of a team, you know, they were really productive, but at the same time everything was still like really messy. And they would work during the day when customers were there, so I could tell they got really frustrated, and they'd leave by like 5 or like 6ish, when everyone started to come in for like closing. And we usually didn't get off of work until like 11, and our doors would close at like 9ish, if I'm remembering correctly. I haven't closed or been on the floor for like a while, but that was the usual times before COVID. But now I think we close at like 7 and they get out by like 8. But it was a lot for me because I would go to school during the day and I'd close and like wouldn't get home till like 11:30, and I still had homework to do. So that was like where I was during this time. So because we declared bankruptcy, we got the news that a lot of stores were closing. So like Puente Hills was closing, Pasadena location was closing. A lot of stores were closing because there's just too much to handle for the company, which is why when companies expand too quickly, they have like a higher chance of like becoming Forever 21, which was Forever 21's fault, because they didn't really have anyone like managing how much product they bought and how quickly they were expanding. They were just expanding too much when they didn't have enough like people, you know, buying or having enough like purchases, I guess. So because other stores are closing, now we get more people from the other store coming to our store, which means we get less hours, which are already like in danger because they already don't want to give us hours. Obviously we're going to bankruptcy. They don't really have like the payroll to like pay us or to like keep maintenance with the store or anything. So now we're all freaking out because we're like, great, why are they having people from Puente Hills come here? Like, we barely get hours as it is. And they always had like this stupid rule like every other month, like, oh, if customers don't say your name at the cash wrap, you're not gonna get hours. That's how we count if you're doing customer service. But I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, why are you gonna put that pressure on the customer? Like, they don't care if we don't get hours. It's not their job to like care. So you can't really get mad at them for not saying your name. Because I don't know how many times I've helped a customer and I've told them my name, and when they go to the cash register, they literally don't say anything. And so I don't get hours. So I'm like, I don't know how that's like an effective system. They also try doing the thing where they're like, oh, you need to make this much money within an hour. Can you make this much money, this much sales? I'm like, oh my god, that was not the move. So now, as we're going through this, the longer that I've been there, we get more seasonal people. I meet some new friends, blah blah blah. We're gonna keep the friend stories separately because that's a whole different drama. But now, Annie's kind of becoming a little more passive aggressive. You know, she's saying like some rude comments. A lot of times, like what I wore. She's like, if I wore this, she'd be like, are you even wearing a top? Blah blah blah. If I wore a dress, she'd like make comments about my dress, like it being too short. Just things that like made me uncomfortable. And sometimes like I'd say hi to her, but then she wouldn't say hi to me, and I'm like, okay. Or like she'd like purposely like say hi to someone that was next to me and like purposely like ignore me. Like I never knew like what that was about, and I started to feel like she started to hate me, which like she always like made you feel bad if you couldn't like come in, which I understand, like you shouldn't be calling off, but at the same time like she made me feel bad even though I took like time off like 2 weeks in advance, and then she'd still make me feel bad even though like I went about it like the right way. And I'm like, how are you gonna be mad at me when I'm always the one like picking up shifts whenever I can? Even when I can't, I still like do it, you know? And I always try to like be on her good side. It was like literally walking on eggshells with her at this point. It was just like a really weird dynamic. I don't know how else to like describe it, but there's obviously like Annie had like clear favorites of people, and she always seemed to like favor like the guys more, and it was like she like let them off so easy if their sections weren't cleaned, blah blah blah. And then it concerned me because she would talk to me about other associates or seasonal. She'd be like, should I keep them? Oh, they're really slow, blah blah blah. Like she like made comments about that. So at first I was like, oh, she probably trusted me saying this, but I was like, if she's talking about other people like this, I feel like she's gonna be talking about me like this to like other people, and it was a bit concerning. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be a manager? Like I don't get it. So I know I went through that first part, the beginning, a bit fast, but I just want to focus on the next parts because this is where it really just goes, you know? So now we're gonna get into the pandemic, because this is where, you know, everyone's it's a pandemic, okay? It's a pandemic. This hasn't really happened to anyone before, you know? And it was really weird because I get one call and it's from Annie. And Annie was like sounding like she was in like a subway or something, and then like and when I mean subway, not like the restaurant, I mean like in a subway, like in a train station. And she called me from a number I've never called before. Like mind you, before this I literally blocked her number because she'd always call me and be like, can you do this, can you do that, can you do this? I'm like, oh my god, I'll only say yes if like the other lead like asked me to, because I liked her better than Annie. And anyway, so I was like, whose number is this? So I answered, and she sounded like really weird and far and distant, and also kind of like she's in a restroom, but also kind of like in a train station. Anyway, so I get one call, and then she's like, okay, everything's closing down right now. We don't really know what's gonna happen, but like we'll call you when we do. And if we call you, like, come back. Like something on those lines, like something like really weird like that. So I was like, okay, do I do unemployment? And she was like, yeah, if you want to. And I was like, what? So anyways, so I applied for unemployment, and I'm unemployed for about 4-ish months, and I get a text back from the lead. We're gonna call her Sandra, and she texts me asking me, hey, are you ready to come back on Monday? And I was like, no. I was making so much money off of unemployment, and I just really didn't want to go back. But she made it seem as if I didn't say yes, I wouldn't have a job. That was basically what she was like saying in the text, you know. Basically they're like, if you don't say yes, then we're gonna ask someone else to come take your place, and you don't really have like a choice, you know. Either like you accept your job back, or you're just gonna like not be scheduled, because they always try to avoid like firing people, which is like really weird to me. But they just probably wouldn't schedule you, which is basically what she was saying. I said yes. So during this time, it was me, Nathan, Dana, Chloe, and we're gonna call her Gianna. Technically she's a manager, and then we have Denise, which she's only cash rep at the time, and we were starting to work at like 6 days a week, which was a lot because we work 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to like 6 p.m. I believe, or 7 p.m. on weekdays. We close at 5 or 6ish on the weekends, on Sundays only. And between like 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5 of us, we could handle it like no problem because it's obviously really dead, and because the mall wasn't completely open, our store kind of like has an entrance to straight out like the parking lot, so that was the reason why they said like our store is open, along with like Best Buy's next to us and like all the other restaurants that were like along that strip of whatever you call it were also open because they had like entrances to the sidewalk. I don't know what difference that like made, but whatever. So we're working a lot, and then Annie was like, oh, is this too much for you? And then we're like, a little bit. Like, we're practically working full time. And so I was like asking my parents like, oh, is this full time? And they're like, they literally are making you work full time, but they're making you work full time and barely keeping you under the full time like hours, so they don't have to give you like full-time like benefits. And I was like, oh, like that's not cool. Like, I'm working so much, and to top it off is that I was working so much. I was practically working full-time, but I still didn't come close to making how much I was making on unemployment. Literally like not working and just like doing Depop and just editing YouTube videos the whole day. Like, I really wish I didn't go back to work because I could have still been getting that money until the end of July, and it even extended it. And it really made me upset because one of my coworkers had been asked to come back, right? And she tells them like, oh no, I'm not ready. And she ended up coming back like a month after unemployment like ends, you know, where you don't get the extra like $400 or whatever. And I was like, okay, so like why can she come back and then she has a job, but you made it seem like the rest of us had to come back, and if we didn't come back then we wouldn't have a job. So I was like really upset by that. And it's like, okay, and that means she also had to lie on her unemployment that she wasn't offered like work, because that was also the thing with us. We're like, oh, we couldn't say that we weren't offered work because we were on our unemployment thing. So that was just like really annoying, and just sets up like the whole tone of how the rest of my working time in Forever 21 would like be. It's like what, 5, 6 of us there, and then we still had managers. So there's the visuals again. So it was still Amy, Cassie, and Larry, but Cassie is kind of like shifting over slowly to more of ASM, kind of more that realm, but she's still visual team right now. And then the ops were Annie, of course, and then we had our leads. We're gonna call him Abel, and he mostly did cash wrap and stuff. He was really close with Denise, and those two were like always on cash together. And then we have Sandra, which was the lead that had texted me to come back. The other lead, Winter, let's just say Winter. We had pretty much more managers than we had like associates like manage, which was really funny to me because like no one was ever on the same page, which made everything like more confusing as to like who's higher than someone else, or like who do we go to for like whatever. And then, and not to mention like all the Karens that came in that wouldn't like wear a mask or that like do a fit. So we meet Diane because Sandra's like, oh, we have a new ASM, do you want to meet her? I was like, sure, of course. So she's telling everyone it's our new ASM person, and I meet her, I talk to her. She's very nice, very bubbly, very high energy, which is something obviously right now I'm like, no. But she was like busy folding pants, she was on the floor, she was doing stuff. And ultimately over time, me and Diane would butt heads a little bit, to be honest, but I knew everything she did was out of good intention, and nothing she did was out of like was malicious. Some of the things she did was like really annoying because she'd like micromanage things, but I think it was because there was literally only like 5 of us and there wasn't really like much for her to like do or anything, so like there's that. And then after Diane comes in the picture, we also have a new visual merchandising manager, and we're going to call him Abe, I guess. I'm sorry, all these names are sounding the same, but I'm trying to think on the top of my head. So now we have Abe, and he's really quiet, very kept to himself. He's like, oh hi, very quiet, you know, he's from the desert, blah blah blah. I'm trying to figure out like where all these people are coming from, but it seems like Abe and Diane seem to know each other already. They've been working with each other, and it seems as I continue to work there that everyone kind of like knows each other from like within the company, because a lot of people stay within the company for a long time, especially obviously if they're managers. Anyways, so as the pandemic like progresses, we all start to take on, you know, visual work because we're working with the visuals because they're literally on the floor with us. So now they have to like talk to us, because before they would never talk to associates and associates would never talk to visuals. And there's kind of like this unspoken rule of like we stay separate, you know, like we do not, you know, because it was always stressful like working with visuals because they're like watching us, like are we like recovering right, are we folding things right, are we putting things back right, because it's literally like their work of like merchandising, and if we mess it up they like get annoyed and we don't want to annoy them. And the more I started to work with the visuals, the more I enjoyed like doing it, and I just like being with them and like, you know, making it feel like I'm contributing to like the store besides just like putting things back or whatever. And now they're starting to like implement like more standards, like they're like, oh, you need to do this now, you need to tuck in this, blah blah blah, which was like, oh my god, we have standards now, like that's crazy. And as the pandemic goes on, we start to add like more people back to like the team, and then we also hire new people, which I thought was weird because I was like, why don't you just call back like our old team? And I was like, why don't you just call back like the good people, like the people that actually did their work? And Annie was like, no, I'm gonna hire new people, blah blah blah. And like when we first came in, it was so funny because I wanted to like die laughing. Was like, she was like, oh, I asked you guys to come back because you guys are like my best workers. And I was like, in my mind I was like, yeah, because you know you can easily like exploit us and like take advantage of us, but like we're not going to talk about it. So as we become a corporate store, you know, things are changing. Like I said, there's like standards now, and we're starting to change like the layout of the store and stuff. There's this one time when we all came in, right? We all came in like really late until like 10 p.m. or like 11 or something, and we were starting to move around the furniture. And now there's this new person. We're call her Jenny. And now I'm like, who is she? Because she was like handing out orders, like this needs to go here. She has like the layout, blah 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 blah, of how each room should be. Like we're literally redoing the store. I was getting so annoyed. It was just like really annoying, like hearing her like boss people around, blah blah blah. And after that, a coworker, I'm James, he was working really closely with her, and all of a sudden Annie made him a merchandiser. What did I call her? Jenny asked James to be on the merchandising team, which is now expanding since we are now a corporate store. They need more people on merchandising. With this, they also made Dana a merchandiser too, which I was like really bummed about that I didn't get put on the merchandising team, because it's obviously something I really wanted to do, and obviously I'm going to go for it, and I'm very passionate about it. And I had talked to Abe during the pandemic, and I worked very closely with visuals, and I was trying to prove myself that like I can do this, and hopefully like they see like my potential, because you know I would eventually ask to like be on visuals. And the more I got closer to like Abe, he would ask me to like, oh, what is your availability like, because now I was going back to school despite it being like virtual. He would ask me like, oh, what is your availability like I need help in the morning, blah 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 blah. He was like, I asked Annie for your schedule, but she hasn't given it to me. She's like, can you give her your schedule, blah blah blah. Yeah, for sure I will. And then he'd be like, did you give Annie your schedule? And I was like, yeah. And then he was all like, oh, she hasn't given it to me. And I was like, the more this kept happening, it was just like, oh, just give me your schedule like yourself, and I'll see what like I can do, because I really would like you on the visual team. And that made me so happy, because like I just had been working so hard, and for someone to like recognize my hard work and wants me on their team as a merchandiser just is the most fulfilling thing. Sorry, my dog's like choking. He has little heart problems. Was that Annie didn't want me on the visual merchandising team because, one, she really like hated me for whatever reason, and she'd always be like really mean to me. Like as the pandemic went on, like she'd literally hate my guts. There's one time when I'd take up trash, and then I was with Gianna, and then before we left, she was all like, did you check out with the manager to check the trash? And I was like, I didn't know that. And then she was like, oh, we were supposed to know that. I was like, what? And then Gianna was like, oh, she hasn't even like asked me that ever before. Like, I don't even think that's a rule. I'm like, it was things like that. It was just like small little like annoying things like that. It's just like she just hated me. With this, I'm trying to get on the visuals team. Annie doesn't let me, and one day before she leaves, I see her leave, and I ask her straight up, Annie, can I be on the visuals team? Because is James on the visual team? Because like I really want to be on the team, and Abe has been asking me to be on the team. And she says, oh, it's because James' schedule is more open. And she was like, yeah, sorry. And then she leaves, and I'm like, okay. And the best thing that Abe could do, and he told me that I could be on the accessories visual team, which is obviously isn't the same as apparel, but it was something, you know, like I wouldn't have to be on the floor anymore, having like a breakdown in the restroom all the time. Like I'd literally be in the restroom texting my mom like, oh my god, mom, I can't do this, like Annie's being so mean to me, this customer's like yelling at me, my coworkers like hate me, like I didn't know what to do. And so I was like, anything to not be on the floor, because if you've come to a point where you're growing out of it, and I felt like I was growing out of being a sales associate and I wanted to do something more, and my heart was set on being an apparel merchandiser, it gets more like daunting, like doing a job you know you're like more capable of doing. And eventually I get on the accessories team, so now Gianna's like technically the accessories manager, and then it's me, and then we're gonna call her Sandra, which is the girl that I came in hired in with. And then we have another person that's on the visuals team. We're gonna call him David. And so it's like David, but David is now on apparel. Like we kind of switch when I come in on accessories. So our visuals team is now Jenny, Abe, James, Dana, Cassandra, me, and David. So, oh, and Gianna, if I didn't say that, but she's manager. So now we have this team. We're trying to get like a rhythm. I'm trying to get used to like accessories and like what's going on, because mind you, I've never done this before, so it's really new to me. And it's like accessories, and to be honest, I literally hate accessories. Like I hated merchandising accessories. Annie never liked anything I did. Like I'd have to merchandise like a table, and I tried to like pick like the cutest things, arrange it like neatly and it's presentable, and she'd literally take it off and just shove a bunch of black purses onto it, even though the season was like spring, and I'm like, this doesn't match like the season link at all. And she just put like a whole black like purse table, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then she just like doesn't like me being like a visual merchandiser, because she knew how much I wanted to be on. Like I literally wanted to be on it so bad. I don't know, she just hated to see me happy. Eventually I would end up on, you know, like apparel, but by now we have like a lot of CEO visits, have a lot of district manager visits. There was this one time when our district manager, I'm not gonna give her a name, but our district manager came in and she was talking with Annie in the break room, and I was just eating like my chicken tenders, and she's talking to Annie, and I'm trying to pretend not to listen, but she literally told Annie like, what do you do here? Like what, like why aren't things like running good? Because Annie was literally hiding racks of clothing in the fitting room and stuff, and there's just so much product in the stock room, like we weren't like optimizing spaces enough, blah blah blah. And Annie literally does not know how to run like a store. I'm not saying that I completely do, but like she just thought like if she waved her hand around, like things would like happen. So the district manager obviously isn't happy, and she also has to talk with like Dana, you know. And then by this time we have like quite a few associates back. The mall is open again. However, the fitting room hasn't been open for a while, but it's going to be open like soon during this like kind of timeline that we're at right now. And basically the district manager was just not happy, and I was like, oh my god. About like a couple weeks later, Annie tells us like, oh, I'm going to be moving or transferring to a different store. And I was like, oh really? And then everyone was asking her like, oh, why are you like going to different stores? She's like, oh, like the commute's closer for me and I don't have to like drive far, and I have to like I can just like roll out of bed. And we're all like, right, that's totally the reason. Eventually she will leave, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Things are looking up from here, you know, like I don't have to deal with all of her literally passive aggressiveness. Like the amount of stuff that she has done, I have like blocked out in my mind. But I will never forget when my grandfather was passing, and I had to tell her like, oh, I can't come in this day because we're anticipating my grandfather's gonna be passing this day, and I just want to be with my family, and then I'm gonna keep you updated with like the funeral and whatever. And I'm like, I'm going through a really hard time right now. And she was literally like, oh, can you come in after? And I was like, what? Like after what? And she was basically saying, can I come in after my grandfather like passed, like that same day? And then she was asking me, what time is the funeral? And I was like, literally at like 10 in the morning. She's like, so can you come in at 1? No empathy, like like no empathy whatsoever, you know. Difficult for me to like hear that from someone. And I was just like, what is her problem? Like I don't know, like if it was her family, I'm sure she would want to be with her family while someone that they love has like passed away. And I was like, oh my god, this woman's crazy. And there's just like other instances too where like she would be like, oh, she's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow at like 1. And I was like, oh, I come in tomorrow at 1? She's like, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow at 1. When I get home, I check the schedule and I actually come in at 3. So I don't understand why she always did this. I don't understand why she couldn't just be like, can you come in at 1 tomorrow instead of 3? Like she just like made you think that you actually come in at 1 even though you're not like scheduled at that time, which was like really annoying because it's like I could like be doing something else before like work. But it was things like that, and just having her like gone and having that stress like go away, and then finally just being with like my merchandising team, it was really like relieving to me. One of my ex-coworkers, ex-friends too, she would basically call out like Annie, and then I didn't have problems with Sandra. I actually really love Sandra, but this coworker had problems with Sandra, and she basically told him like, I'm tired of being bullied by grown women, which was like basically a lot of people felt that way because they knew how like Annie was, and obviously Annie did have her favorites and stuff. So now we have the, you know, suspense of who our new store manager is gonna be. And so we're like, oh, when she's coming, and you're like, oh, the new store manager is coming today, or she's starting today, whatever, she's training. And so it comes to find out that this store manager is like besties with the district manager, so that's a red flag for me. And we're gonna call her Angie. So now when we meet Angie, you know, that gets in the morning, you know, visuals team, we're like always there early. And so she comes in and she's like saying hi to everyone with Abe, and Abe's like, this is James, this is Cassandra, she does accessories, blah blah blah. And then he's like, this is Kyra, she does visual, she does accessories right now, I'm gonna go into apparel, whatever. And she's all like, really nice to meet you, like I'm so looking forward to like working with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is too good to be true. Like she actually sees us as a person, you know, like I actually feel like okay like talking to her, despite knowing she's like besties or like the district manager, which I should have just like taken that as like face value at that point. And so now we're just like, me and my other coworkers were like, oh my gosh, like I think she's like really nice. That lasts for like a week, maybe tops. For the first week, she'd be like on the floor, she'd be like folding things with the associates, you know. She wasn't always at the cash register, she was always doing something. But then after a week, all she does, order food, comes in an hour late, Now, mind you, she's driving from a really bougie beach city, and when I say she has money, she brings in like a $2,000 bag to work. If it's real, I'm pretty sure it's real, because she literally was like, oh, I'm gonna just have to bring in my BMW instead of my Maserati because I don't want it to get scuffed here. But this is how a lot of the corporate people are, like, really are. Like, they're really so out of touch and so just like, I don't know, so like shallow and like not good. I don't know, it's hard to describe. Anyways, so now I'm starting to like have my doubts. I'm like, great, but I don't really have to work with her as much because obviously I'm with visuals all the time, so I'm not an associate. I don't really have to answer to her. I literally answer to like Abe and Jenny. So I'm like, okay, cool. But now as time goes on, as a visual merchandiser, I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling the more weight of responsibility. And so I'm talking to James about it. I'm like, shouldn't we like be getting like a raise or something, because like we have so much more responsibility than a sales associate, and like I'm not at the same level, because if you look at it, a sales associate is like entry level and merchandising is not an entry level like position. And so James was like, oh, Abe said like we're going through training, blah blah blah, they're like restructuring whatever. And so now instead of sales associate, there's just like sales associate or cash wrap. There's like brand ambassador 1, which is like supposed to be sales associate, and then brand ambassador 2, and then lead, and then managers. They basically just did it so they didn't have to like pay people like more. So obviously they got rid of like visual associate, and so now we're just like branded under brand ambassador 1, even though we do like so much more than that. So they found like that loophole. It made it worse because we literally found out one of the new people who had only been working with us for like 2 or 3 months, I got promoted to brand ambassador 2 and got a raise. Okay, we see that the company is able to promote people within that short amount of time, but yet they literally couldn't do that with us. And there's so many times when we talk with Abe, and this is more like recently, as of like late, we talked to Abe, me and James talked to Abe and be like, you know, we think we need a raise. And he would completely agree with us and be like, if you want to talk about it with like the district manager and talk about it with Angie, like we can do that, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, for sure. But then he was like, they're supposed to like do something at like the end of September, not here, no raise, nothing about it. And I know that they talk about it in their manager meetings, because every time we'd come in they'd like be hush hush about it and like quiet. But it just really made me upset, because it's like, I'm going to school, I'm a student, I come in at 4 a.m. They'll text us at 9:30 p.m. I'm scheduled for 7 next day. Can you come in at 4? Of course I'm gonna say yes, because I want to keep my job. Come in at 4, work my butt off until like 12 p.m. Go home, try to do homework, go to work, go to school, and like repeat. And it was getting really tiresome, and I'm like, why am I taking on so much responsibility, so much stress for a company that can't even pay me or compensate me the way that I'm supposed to be paid and compensated? Like, I'm literally going to school for this. I'm going to school for merchandising now. Like, I've come to the point where I've been here for 2 years, and the least they could do is just give me a pay raise. Like, we weren't even asking for like a really high pay raise. He just pays visual merchandising pay. And I hate talking about being paid a certain way, because I don't ever want to feel entitled to something, but at the same time I knew that I deserved a pay raise, because we're not at the same level as a sales associate. We would literally be, there was days when other visual managers would come from stores, right? And we would literally be there with these managers, working side by side with managers, taking on projects with them, doing things that sales associates don't do. And when they brought in visual support, you know, it'd be girls who would like steam and stuff and just like do that. But obviously there's a difference, because if we were just visual support, we wouldn't be having our directives, which is like things that we look at to like help us guide what they want in the room, girl, blah blah blah. We wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't have access to that. We wouldn't know how to like do anything, look at, you know, things on the computer that sales associates don't know how to get access to. And it was just like really, really frustrating, because at one hand I really love what I do. I didn't take it for granted that I had a job and I was able to get experience before I even graduated. But at the same time, it's like they were taking advantage of us and our knowledge, our creativity, our time, and our effort, because they knew that they saw that the more that we gave, the more that they would ask for. they saw that we could accomplish this with a team of like what, 6 or 7 people, despite them saying that they'd give us more people, blah blah blah, they're restructuring, whatever. We're trying to find ways to basically just cut costs, because obviously this company has like no money. You know, it's about a couple months in, and like I'm getting pretty annoyed. I'm getting really tired now, and I think Abe could like tell how much I was like not enjoying like myself anymore. Okay, the lighting was bothering me. Anyway, so yeah, it's just a lot of responsibility, and the fact that like they wanted to make me stylist for the like entire store, which means I would like be responsible for like dressing the mannequins, doing the windows, basically just like merching that, and then I'd help with whatever we need to be merchandised, blah blah blah. And you know, I was really excited about it, but I was like, wait, they want me to take on this job, right? But they're not going to change my job title, they're not going to give me a raise, but they're expecting me to do all of this work. Like, how is that? And the reason why I kept rationalizing, like, it's okay, like, they're gonna give you a raise, you're getting good experience, like, it's good for you, it's good for you. I kept telling myself it's good for you. It wasn't good for me in the sense of I was putting down my self-worth. I was accepting things that I knew I was better than. And I'm not the one to be arrogant about my capabilities or anything. I'm not the one to say that, but I knew that my self-worth was being put down by a company that didn't care. The fact that the CEO had seen us, these corporate people had seen us, the head CEO, the head corporate merchandiser would work with us and had no care and had the audacity to not even recognize that we were not being paid merchandiser pay like at all. Like, these people are the most like shallow individuals that I've ever seen, and it just made me sick to my stomach when I'd come in and we'd be there early morning. And I really felt for Abe because like he hasn't taken a day off for like ever. And only really recently is when he was taking days off. And really recently he was doing split shifts. And you know, I'm not only angry for myself, I'm angry for everyone on my visual merchandising team. And when I say my, I'm just saying, you know, the people that I work with, the people that I've spent countless hours with. We come in at 4 a.m. in the morning. You know, we're there. We're literally became really close, and it pains me because I understand that they work very hard. And I'm not the only one who works very hard. I'm saying that from like the bottom of my heart, that these people that I have worked with are probably the best people that Forever 21 will ever have. And it's a shame because they don't treated us, they didn't treat us the right way. And that's why so many people are leaving, especially the original people that have been there. Like, it's sad because this company could be so much better than it is. But the fact that all they're caring about is money, and none of their practices are ethical. The way that they treat their employees here, the way that they manufacture, the way that they're trying to greenwash their product line of having like organic cotton or like organic basics. It's all a facade. It's all fake. It's all fake. All the things that the CEO does, like giving back to the community, having like hiring workshops for like the youth, or like at face value, those things are good. Those things are positive things for a large company like Forever 21 to be doing. If you take a deeper look at it, of how the CEO doesn't take care of his company, his employees, and work on a lower level, like they literally treat you like dirt. They treat you like dirt. Like, literally on my last day that I was there, corporate was there. Of course, on my last day, we have a corporate visit. Of course. And I was just, like, so over it. You know, I was just, like, trying to, like, get out of there. And I was with Dana. And she had told me that these 2 ladies from corporate, literally, she was, like, fixing hangers, you know. We're trying to recover. We're trying to make it presentable. Despite them only coming in for a visit on the home. I'm gonna burp. On the home, launch that we just launched. And like Dana told me like, oh my gosh, these ladies like from corporate, they're like so rude because they came in front of me while I was fixing, like they couldn't wait until she was done fixing like the hangers, and they just come in front of you and pull it out. Like, that's what customers do. They treat you like dirt. And then you have corporate people acting that way. I wasn't surprised, but I was like, what? Why? Like, I think that people should be treated like people. I don't know why that's such a hard concept to like grasp. And then at the end of my shift, Dana was with me where like fixing the table, laying out the table, whatever, and corporate people come, 2 girls, there's like 5 of them, they're all taking pictures, they're like all saying, like posting on their Instagram, like, this is what we did, this is like our work. Like, no, you are buyers, you buy the stuff that we have to make work, even though it's so ugly and it never sells and it always ends up in the sales section because you guys have no taste and cannot stick to a color palette or the theme of a girl in these sections, and you're gonna take credit for all the work that we did. And it was in my room, me and Abe's room, and these women have the audacity to go in front of Dana and mess up her pile that she just full. I was like, what is going on? It made me so mad. My blood was literally boiling because it's like, how are you gonna treat someone that way? And you see that we're working. They saw us in the morning, they saw us there building walls, doing whatever we were doing, while we barely get paid a livable wage. Like, how are you so absorbed in yourself that you can't even acknowledge someone's working there? And like, you could ask for a size, or just wait until she was done. That is the kind of people that are in this corporate sector. Now, Angie had health problems and she had to leave the store, which, you know, despite her being a terrible manager, I don't wish bad upon anyone, and what happened to her was, you know, it's her business, and I hope she really gets better. I knew that this was literally going to come to an end sooner or later. I knew in my heart that they would not see us as people. They would not give us a raise, even though my other coworkers were hopeful because they keep talking about it. I know they talked about it. I know these managers, corporate people, district manager talked about it. They just don't want to do anything about it. And when you're brought to a situation where like, oh, I'm not even worth being paid the way I'm supposed to get paid, it really breaks you down to like a point. Like, it was always a difficult thing for me because I always felt hypocritical of myself because, you know, I worked at a fast fashion company and I always preached about sustainability, especially coming into like a fashion minor and just like learning about different things of what makes the fashion industry, you know. And I always felt conflicted because I work at the biggest fast fashion company ever, one of the OG fast fashion companies that originated in LA. It was really hard because, you know, I needed to make money. At the same time, I wanted to feel good about what I was working for. And it was heavy on my heart the whole time. Like, I saw them stealing like art from smaller artists and, you know, getting sued all this time. Ariana Grande suing them. And I just wanted to make it known that this company it does not deserve the platform that it has. I'm sure that the owners, they knew. I'm sure that they wouldn't want any of this to be happening. I'm sure that they would want everyone to be paid the way they're supposed to be paid. You know, everything happens for a reason. I'm so grateful that I was able to have this opportunity to get experience as a merchandiser because I loved what I did. I really love what I did. More aware of my worth as a person, more aware of how important my mental health is. I just hope that this reaches like the right people, and if you're watching this and you're going through a similar situation of bad work environment, toxic managers, toxic work environment. My mom's literally went through the same thing. We both literally quit our jobs together because we were going through literally the same thing of just a bad work environment, not being appreciated, not being recognized for the work that we did. Just know that whatever you're feeling is valid, even if no one's listening to you, and you have to do what is best for you, and not everyone has the means to just quit, you know. It's very scary, and I still live at home, so I still have a safety net, you know, but a lot of people don't, and it's really difficult, especially with COVID, of finding a job, supporting yourself. I know a lot of people are on unemployment, are unable to buy a job, and it's just like the whole system, job, employment is very tricky, and a lot of people get away with things. But this is my way of making peace, of I forgot what I was saying. My mom is literally being so loud. I knew there's bigger and better things for me, and right now I'm literally looking. I'm seeing where this takes me, to be honest, and it made me feel stuck for a while, and now I'm feeling, a little scared, a little worried. I know this was a decision I had to do. Like, my intuition was telling me that I needed to do it. And I'm really glad that I listened. It's really bad. I literally blocked out like a lot. I just try not to remember it. But I hope that as a little enlightening about what this company is like, things like that. Yeah, I'm just wishing the best for everyone, and I'm excited for my next step in my life. I'm ready to say bye to Forever 21. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!